Ladies and sinners, welcome to another Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You guys can get at us on our Twitter forums at SinCity_IESR, at Cale_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports because this is IE Vegas, and this is your direct feed for all that is sports. Speaking of IE Sports Radio, our platform for the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also check out our website, iesportsradio.com. for sports news, IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast on the network, our IE Sports Radio community forum, and stop by the store and check out the latest merch. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. What's up, folks? Apologies for the late start. Was having a dinner with my fiance, parents. I turned 33 today, 33 years of age. Yeah, I don't feel old. Does it sound weird to say I don't feel as old this year as I did last year? You know, does that make sense? I have more energy this year than I did last year. I have no idea why. I feel younger this year than I did last year. Crazy, but it is what it is. It's the B-Day. It's the B-Day podcast, the B-Day show, man. And that's how dedicated I am to Larry B and the IE Sports Radio. I do a show, or at least half a show, on my birthday. What's up? Larry B says, I'm 35 next Thursday. I would have never guessed that, man. Would have never guessed 35. I mean, you have a man's beard. The 5 o'clock shadow from like, the shadow realm. Like, it's so dark. But I'm just saying, I would never have guessed 35. And yeah, dude, it's crazy. I feel so much better this year. I feel so much better this year than I did last year. And I can't tell you why. Can't tell you why. A lot's changed in the last year, guys. Just give you guys an update. You know, I'm a high school football coach now. I'm air raid certified under Hal Mummy and Mike Leach, or the Hal Mummy and Mike Leach Academy. Still run, Allo Youth Football. Love that. We've had our 2 straight winning seasons as a program, and I know I've headed that. I haven't been directly involved, but I've headed that whole thing and tried to build the culture there that is honest. We're transparent with players and parents, exceptional. We're local, so like we're all about being local. Everything we do is local. When we get mouthpieces, helmets, we order from local. Like, we have a culture at Allo Football that was built. That's really kind of been established in the last year. Not to mention I got engaged. So there's a lot going on, man. We got a lot going on in my life. It's really busy, but I love making time for this show because I think there's a lot to talk about. I know we're going to do a focus on the Raiders today. Big news. Again, there's only a half hour on the show. I apologize. You guys know how it is, man. Life just comes at you fast. I want to thank everybody in the chat, man. Taryn, Adam, Larry, thank you guys so much. Thank you for the B-Day wishes. I appreciate that. Raiders. Good old Larry chimes in. Gotta love it, baby. Taryn says, good evening, Cale. Have an awesome show. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Tom Telesco being the Raiders GM. I know the Telesco family personally. Great family. Adam said it's Vegas time. Yep, Vegas time, baby. Golden Knights are still killing it. Second in the Pacific. But I really feel like once Jack Eichel's healthy and comes back, we could see a run. We see a run every single year. You don't have kids, hence the extra energy. It's not that, I won't say for a lack of trying. Good thing I'm explicit. It's not for a lack of trying. Just be honest with that. Kale's the man. What's up? Pro Volleyball Federation League starts tomorrow, but the Vegas Thrill don't play until 15 more days, which I don't agree with. That's ridiculous. The Shadow Realm. I know, man. Isn't that great? Dude, okay, I got to tell you guys this, and you guys might laugh at this, maybe you won't. Okay, our league, Lincoln Youth Football, had a large camp where kids could sign up and come to for free just to get skills going. It was an offensive day. Um, 160 kids from ages basically third grade to eighth grade came and had a good time. It was really cool. 160 kids, man, that's a lot for an indoor facility or just in general. That's big participation from the community, and we were all involved with that. I had a specific kid, man. I don't know what to tell you. You could tell he was a third grader, and you could tell this kid has absolutely no focus whatsoever. It is straight squirrel syndrome over there, all right? I'm pretty positive I said some things, and he thought it was this and that. And when I talk about the Shadow Realm, Taryn, I'm not kidding you. I swear this kid was thinking of unicorns, ruling a shadow kingdom or something like that. He was not thinking football. That kid was in a whole nother world the whole time. And that's why I love high school football now. I do. I love high school football. You get kids that are more focused. Yes, sometimes they're brain dead, but still they're more focused. They're not, JoJo the idiot circus clown with a pretty new pet. You know what I'm saying? They're not that type of person. So that's what I ran into. Maybe, you know, maybe it's funny, maybe it's not, but dude, that kid he was in a different world. He was just in a different world. We need a kale show with a little Vegas sprinkled on top of your birthday. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Yes, having no kids can be a blessing and a curse. Yeah. So you guys know how I am. I'm transparent. We've had a hard time. My fiance and I. I'm currently we're seeking a physician. We'd like to have a child. You know, some of it's on me, and I got to get my health straight. That's part of the reason why my energy's up, man. I've been able to get in touch with some medical professionals, and it's really helped, man. Really benefited my health. Really benefited my outlook and the energy levels and everything that's going on. So I'm glad that ship is getting righted, and it should get better and better as time goes on. Now that we know what it is and all that stuff, just life, man. As you get older, it's no joke. Anything could happen. But yeah, hopefully something that happens like that. And I agree with you, Taryn. Blessing and a curse. But honestly, I see people who complain about their kids, and I look at them like, you guys are lucky you have kids, because some people have a really hard time having them. And I can tell you, like, I'm one of those folks. It is what it is. I probably just waited too long. I don't know, but I say this, man. It's almost like it's perspective, right? It's people who complain about the holidays, right? Complain about their family, but they have family to go home to. They have family to spend the holidays with. We talked about this about a month or so ago. That's why I'm huge on saying, hey, man, if you know somebody that's alone, invite them to your house on the holidays. Give them a warm meal. Give them great conversation. Let them be involved with your family, because you have no idea what they're going through. You know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, kids, I think they're great. Obviously, if they were my kids, they'd be great. If it's everybody else's kids, let's kick them. I'm just kidding. That's terrible. But you guys get what I'm saying. There's different outlooks, and we just have to be open-minded to all that. Raiders had a new hire today, guys. Tom Telesco, former GM. Oh wait, real quick. Adam Karnick. I had both of my kids fall asleep on me last night. Best feeling in the world. Lucky you, man. I'm like, seriously, I'm really happy for you, bro. Because I'm hoping one day I have a boy. If it's a girl, I'll probably do the old crib swap. You know what I'm saying, at the hospital? Maybe slip a couple $100 bills to the doctor. Say, hey, man, you didn't see nothing. You know, it is what it is. A little bit of comedy because it's undefeated. I had a buddy say, well, what if all that's left is a minority baby, right? Maybe a Mexican or a black baby. I said, well, it'd look worse on Lexi than me. You know what I'm saying? I'd have a son. You know, everybody would be like, oh, this guy's a sweetheart. He adopted. No, it's bad. That's a bad joke. Terrible joke. Mixed feelings on Telesco, but Cecilia and I are optimistic. Yes. So glad you brought that up, and I'm glad Terrence said he wants to hear my thoughts. This is the way I look at it. I hope that Mark Davis has a real conversation with this guy. I hope that they say, hey, we're not going to let you just make all the decisions as far as the roster is concerned, especially with contracts, because you see what's going down in Los Angeles. They have to offload quite a few contracts. To be fair, Tom Telesco did create a very talented team over in Los Angeles. They did. Justin Herbert had a lot of pieces around him. They just kept getting injured, right? And to be fair, I think Brandon Staley was one of the worst head coaches in the league for a while, for a few years, for that matter. Way underachieving. That roster of LA was talented, and I've said that for years. I know Terrence heard me say it. I've always been worried about that Justin Herbert. Their offensive line was reloaded with first-round picks over the last few years. You had a good D line. You guys get what I'm saying. I think Tom Telesco knows how to draft players. I mean, when you look at his list of players, Derwin James stands out. Slater, right, from Northwestern, recently drafted not too long ago. He's doing really well. I think he had some great signings. I think the Khalil Mack signing was good. I think it helped. Right now, what Tom Telesco ran into was an aging team over in LA. You had a couple year window to really be a contender, and those guys, they just didn't take advantage of it. I don't think Brandon Staley was ready for that opportunity. So here's my thoughts. I think Tom Telesco absolutely knows what he's looking for when it comes to his team makeup, the culture. I think he understands the type of player that's very talented. I think he knows how to find talented players. I think he drafts well. I think he drafts really well. I think the Chargers, if I gave them a grade over the last 5 years, it'd probably be a B plus. It'd probably be a B plus. Got Adam chiming in. Being a girl dad is the best. Don't get me wrong. Boys are awesome. But having a daughter is eye opening. Yep. Again, crib swap. Boop, boop. Bad joke, but seriously. Preach, Kale. You're preaching to that choir. Telesco, I don't think he deserved the boot. You know what? I don't think so either, but I think the contract situation was weird. And when they did away. Now, to be fair, Tom Telesco did hire Brandon Staley, and that was a bad hire. So I think that was just kind of a sour thing going on with the Chargers. If we're being honest, man, I thought that guy was a really, really good front office guy for somebody who was on a team who was coaching for, or sorry, he was the GM for a team that basically didn't have their home stadium for a couple of years. They relocated from San Diego. You had to move on from Philip Rivers, who is probably borderline Hall of Fame. He'll get in the Hall of Fame one day, I think, to trying to go after Justin Herbert. He deserves a ton of credit for drafting Justin Herbert because a few teams passed on him. I just think there's a lot to like with Tom Telesco, and I think the most important thing that people should realize with this hire was made because you have a rookie head coach in Antonio Pierce. You It's not a good idea to pair a rookie head coach with a rookie GM. Okay? So if they would have hired Ed Dodds, which you guys all know was my number one option, which now I think he'll probably be the Chargers GM because, you know, I think the Chargers GM spot is going to be paired with Jim Harbaugh, and Ed Dodds is that guy, right? Um, the way I look at it is this. Tom Telesco is experienced. He was with Bill Polian at the Colts. The guy knows how to draft. I think his track record shows that. What I hope happens is the Raiders kind of step in. They say, hey, Champ in our team of salary cap experts, because every team has one, by the way. Every team has a group of people that are just legitimately focused on the contract structures and the finance structure as well as the cap, right? What's available. They're cap geniuses, okay? They're cap gurus. Every team has them. I think the GMs should always focus on finding the best talent, drafting the best talent, and let the assistant GM and that group of scouts and that group of the group of financial geniuses, the cap gurus, handle the contracts. Because if you don't do that, you have a GM that's just going to go out and sign people, right? And I think they kind of ran into that with the Chargers. I think Telesco did a good enough job trying to load up that team around Herbert before his big contract kicked in, and it just didn't work out, man. A lot of injuries, and you had bad coaching. Like, that's the reality. You had bad coaching, and that's what led to Tom Telesco's demise in Los Angeles. Sometimes I think people just need a fresh start. I also believe that Los Angeles was probably one of those teams that kind of knew they were going to go heavy on Jim Harbaugh. And I do believe Jim Harbaugh is the favorite. I think LA is the favorite to land Jim Harbaugh. So I kind of feel like the ownership knew that. There's no way that Spanos didn't know it. And there's no way that Spanos didn't understand that, if they were to hire Harbaugh, they probably have to part ways with Telesco to do so. So I like the hire of Telesco. I'm optimistic because the one thing the Raiders have been really bad at for the last couple decades is drafting. Tom Telesco has a track record of drafting dudes. Adam Karnick, financial geniuses, aka people who did well in math, aka not me. I get that, dude. Look, like legit, it's. I think that's a great job. Like, imagine you're getting paid a couple $100,000 a year to look at, your team's cap structure and how to manipulate that cap so that way. I think one of the guys' names like Kai something in New Orleans. He does that for Mickey Loomis. Mickey Loomis is like, hey, I want to get this guy. What's it going to take? Kai's like, well, we have some money we can move around. It may hurt us in the future, but we'll be okay. Like, you have gurus that can do that. And I think that's what Tom Telesco really needs to lean on here in Las Vegas. But again, the experience is huge. He knows how to run a front office. He knows how to build a talented team. If the Raiders or John Gruden, now John Gruden got in his own way, don't get me wrong, but if the Raiders and John Gruden would have had a team as talented as the Los Angeles Chargers, they were probably contenders because John Gruden's a good coach. Say what you want about him, but that team was improving on a year-to-year basis, on a week-to-week basis. Derek Carr played his best football. Everybody who hates on Derek Carr played his best football under John Gruden. I just think John Gruden knows how to coach. Maybe he's a horrible GM, but the guy knows how to coach. So Tom Telesco is positive. Okay, you have an experienced GM. It sounds like they're going to keep Champ Kelly, the assistant GM, because Champ Kelly is under contract. I'm pretty positive Mark Davis said, "Hey, we want to see if you can make this work. Um, you have a contract with us. We'd like you to honor the contract. We think you did a good job considering everything that happened. We could give you more experience. That way, in the next couple of years, Champ Kelly is probably going to get some interviews to be a GM or official GM somewhere else. So I think that what we'll end up finding out is that Tom Telesco will be the GM. Champ Kelly will stay the assistant GM, which is great. That's what you want. That's exactly what you want. And AP is going to worry about the head. Now the Raiders really need to worry about the OC position, the offensive coordinator position. Um, there's a lot of options out there, man. I know I've talked about them. I've talked about them with you guys the last couple weeks. And it seems like more and more names tend to come up. So here's my list of coordinators I'd really like the Raiders to interview. You guys know that Clint Kubiak is my number one. I know he doesn't have much play calling experience, but he comes from the Shanahan tree. He's the son of Gary Kubiak. The guy knows football. He's grown up around football. He's grown up around the NFL. And I just want to poach from the Shanahan tree, to be honest with you. Kyle Shanahan is an offensive genius. And if you get some of the players that we have and you put them in the Shanahan system, it would be nasty, man. It would be nasty. So Clint Kubiak is my number one. Sean Robinson is up there. He's a Los Angeles Rams assistant. I think he's the quarterbacks coach as we currently speak. He is also the passing game coordinator for Sean McVay. So again, if you're going to poach from any staff right now, it is going to be one of those two staff. It's going to be one of those two staffs, the Niners or the Rams, because those young coaches know how to develop. Those young coaches know how to coach. Like unbelievable games, unbelievable teams they have on a year in, year out basis. And I think those would be my top two guys. Names that I think that should be mentioned. Why not Kellen Moore? I don't think Kellen Moore did a bad job this year. I think injuries really hampered this team. I think Justin Herbert was primed to have a career year before he got hurt. There was a lot to like about what Kellen Moore was doing. Kellen Moore's a possibility. Dan Pritchard, he's the quarterback's coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. Is it Joe Burrow or did he have great coaching? It could be a mixture of both, but Dan Pritchard is somebody I think is going to get a lot of looks. I've heard rumors about Gerard Johnson from the Texans, the quarterback's coach from the Texans, former NFL quarterback. That would be interesting. The other one I'm thinking about is what about Byron Leftwich? What if you brought that old ground and pound play action Tampa Bay offense that they were running with Brady over here? I feel like it would be a really good fit for this team. The one thing I can tell you is whoever is offensive coordinator, and I've been hearing the Cliff Kingsbury stuff. I hope they stay so far away from that, by the way. There is no reason why Cliff Kingsbury should be the offensive coordinator for the Raiders right now. The one thing I would tell you about what's going to happen here, I know that Tom Coughlin is going to stay on as an advisor for Antonio Pierce because that has been reported, and it sounds like Tom Coughlin and Antonio Pierce are close. As you guys know, Antonio Pierce played for Tom Coughlin when he was with the Giants. He was an undrafted free agent linebacker that was signed from, I think it was the Niners. I want to say he was signed from the Niners to play for the Giants, and he ended up being, a team captain, well respected, leader of men, right? We all know Antonio Pierce's story. Tom Coughlin was his head coach. I believe that Antonio Pierce has great respect for Tom Coughlin. If Antonio Pierce becomes anything like Tom Coughlin, where they are a player's coach, but they are fair, and they run a militant program, like people need to toe the line. People need to do their jobs. Otherwise, they're probably not going to be there anymore. But overall, they genuinely care about their players. I think if Antonio Pierce goes that route, and he's more of a player's coach than Tom Coughlin ever was, but you guys get what I'm saying. I think if they approach that, great. I also hear Marvin Lewis is being brought on as an offensive staff member, as an offensive assistant, which is weird because Marvin Lewis was the um, defensive coordinator for that unbelievable Ravens team in 2000, right? Which earned him the job for the Cincinnati Bengals. So that throws you off a little bit, but I also think that Marvin Lewis, who is he was with the Bengals for like what, a decade. I think he's got a ton of experience on the defensive side of the ball. So what he's going to be able to do is help the offensive coordinator decipher defenses, scout defenses, put the team in a position to win football games or win plays because you have a guru like Marvin Lewis, who was known as the defensive coordinator that ran that 2000 Ravens team, that 2000 defensive team, right? Brian Billick, I understand, was the head coach, but Marvin Lewis led that defense with Ray Lewis. Like they had unbelievable defense that year. And honestly, Cincinnati had a lot of really good defenses when Marvin Lewis was the head coach there. So you have Marvin Lewis, you have Tom Coughlin in Antonio Pierce's ear. You have people that could really mentor Antonio Pierce. Um, so Antonio Pierce can focus on being a leader of men, can focus on being a culture builder, and then let the OC and DC do their work because Patrick Graham's returning. Patrick Graham led the Raiders to their best defensive output in 20 years. They were a top 15 defense this year. They were the number one defense the last 9 weeks of the season in many stats: turnovers, defensive touchdowns, yards per game, points per game. The last 9 weeks, they were the top defense in the NFL. The first 9 weeks, when you factor those in, the Raiders were still a top 15 defense, probably 12th to 13th. So that's how bad the Josh McDaniels era was defensively. Like, you had 9 weeks where you're the number one defense in the league. And the first 9 weeks were so bad that you didn't finish in the top 10. Patrick Graham is going to take hold of that. AP is probably going to help Patrick Graham quite a bit. He needs to hire an offensive coordinator that can really get it done. I hope Clint Kubiak is the guy. I just don't think it's going to happen. Something in my mind says that Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco are going to double team this a little bit, and they're going to get somebody that fits Antonio Pierce's culture but has experience. I think you're going to see a coordinator come in that has a run-first mentality, a very physical mentality, and does a really good job of designing play-action passes to get guys open. I think that's what we're going to see. That also brings up this name, and I've talked about it a few times. Saints nemesis or Dennis Allen's post-game nemesis, Arthur Smith. Yes, Arthur Smith had some talent on his Atlanta teams. I don't think he ever had his quarterback. Say what you want about Desmond Ridder, I just don't think he was the guy. I don't think he was talented enough. And they just finally rebuilt that offensive line to get to where it needs to be. So, say what you want. I think Arthur Smith is intriguing. The last time he was an offensive coordinator, he was with the Titans. His job and how well he did in helping the Titans basically get to a 13-3 season, I think it was, before they went to an 18-game schedule, get first in the AFC under Mike Vrabel. Derrick Henry, obviously, I think that was one of his 2,000-yard seasons, so you had the freak of nature Derrick Henry. You had an excellent offensive line, but the guy led an offense with Ryan Tannehill, man. Ryan Tannehill's an average quarterback, let's be honest. He's an excellent athlete, but he was an average quarterback. And that's just me being real about the situation. Adam Karnick said, what about Cliff Kingsbury? Well, you guys, the Bears decided to go with Shane Waldron, right? Am I wrong about that, Adam? Or because I think Cliff Kingsbury was somebody who was in play for the Bears job, but they decided to go with Shane Waldron from the Seahawks. So there's rumors about Kingsbury being with the Raiders, but it sounds like Eagles have interviewed Cliff Kingsbury within the last hour for an offensive coordinator position. So some staff changes must have been made in Philly following this disappointing season. So maybe Cliff Kingsbury is going to the Eagles. I don't see it as a fit. I feel like Cliff Kingsbury needs to go to a team that is very pass happy. Like Cliff Kingsbury would be perfect for the Miami Dolphins with all the weapons they have in Tua. right? They would know how to use space. You saw what happened with the Arizona Cardinals when Cliff Kingsbury was there. They threw the ball a lot. They had some of the highest percentage of throws. They did have a really successful run game, but they had a high percentage of throws. I don't know if Cliff Kingsbury is quite a fit culturally with AP. I just don't see it. Indeed, Waldron is our new OC. Yep, and that's a good choice because Waldron, I think he's great with the run game, and I think their play action passing game was very good. Um, if the Seahawks could really find a top tier quarterback, man, that team would be unbelievably special because it's a really well developed, well built team over there in Seattle. But yeah, Cliff Kingsbury apparently over just less than an hour ago was reported to interview with the Eagles for the offensive coordinator position. So it sounds like the Eagles moved on from their offensive coordinator, who was only there for 1 year. And that kind of sucks, honestly, for Jalen Hurts, by the way. That really sucks. But I think Nick Sirianni had to do something to keep his job because with Bill Belichick out there, with Mike Vrabel out there, like I think everybody was kind of on blast, to be honest with you. I think every coach in the league that wasn't going deep into the playoffs was sitting there thinking, damn, could I be losing my job to one of these guys? It seems as though Bill Belichick will probably end up in Atlanta. Sounds like there's some mutual interest there. Multiple interviews. That's huge. Um, it sounds like Mike Vrabel is somebody who's like basically the second option. And this was reported by NFL or ESPN Adam Schefter. He said that Mike Vrabel is the second option for a lot of teams. Like they're not going head over heels for the guy, but they're like, if they can't get this guy, they definitely want Mike Vrabel. Which I honestly thought the Raiders would look into a little bit. I'm a little puzzled by the Raiders head coaching search, by the way. Since we're on that topic, they didn't interview Jim Harbaugh. They didn't interview Mike Vrabel. They didn't interview none of the big names out there. I believe Mark Davis had his mind made up. I think it was going to be Antonio Pierce. That's fine. Not a big deal. I just don't like, and I think it's malpractice in a lot of ways. If you do not hire or if you do not interview every qualified candidate to be the head coach, and you never know, man. Maybe Mark Davis sent his feelers out there, and Harbaugh's like, nah, I think I really wanted the Chargers job. Okay, cool. You move on. Maybe he talked to Mike Vrabel, reached out to his agency, said, hey, would Mike be interested in Las Vegas? Maybe Mike Vrabel said no, or maybe I have a sneaky suspicion it was AP the whole time. I truly do. And I also think that Mark Davis was on record. I think it was a Bay Area, um, a Vegas reporter that had Mark saying basically that if they didn't pick AP, he was worried about mutiny. So the players definitely help aid the decision. I'm not saying it's the wrong decision. I'm optimistic, but again, he's a rookie head coach. He's got a lot to learn. You could tell last year that you know the reality is he went 5-4. And the Raiders played much better, and they were a much more tough team, right? There was toughness there. There was grit. You could tell. Reality is, out of those 9 games, 6 of them were against backup quarterbacks. So how good is that 5-4 record really? I guess it remains to be seen. I hope he hires the right guy. Again, Clint Kubiak is my dude. I wouldn't be surprised if Arthur Smith ends up being the guy because of his power running philosophy, and it would fit really well with what AP is looking to do, which is run the football well, play defense, right? Be efficient on offense, play excellent defense. That is the Giants mold. That is the AP mold. That is the Tom Coughlin mold. Straight up. Quick show today, guys. Quick show. Very sorry about that. You guys know how it is. Got to enjoy life as it comes. I was still able to get on here for a half hour. Had to get the news out there. Tom Telesco is the new GM the new general manager of the Raiders. Antonio Pierce is the new head coach of the Raiders. He was promoted from interim to head coach last week. Tom Telesco was just hired today or announced today will be the GM. I think there's thumbs up for both hires, man. A lot of optimism. Now we just got to see some results, man. We got to see Mark Davis step out of the way, and let's see some results. It's that simple. Draft well, develop the talent. Let's be efficient on both sides of the football. Let's make playoffs next year. I don't think you have a choice. If you're going to keep the players you have on your roster, if you're not going to get rid of Devontae Adams, if you're not going to trade him, like you're going to have Devontae Adams and Max Crosby on the roster still next year, it's playoffs or bust to me. I really don't care if it's AP's first year. He went 5-4. He got the job. He earned the job, right? Win games. Win games, or we need to go out and hire somebody that's more qualified. It's that simple. I think if the season really blows up, it's going to be bad. I don't see that happening. I think the Raiders will be very competitive. And that's all you can ask for. So, this is the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You guys can get at us on our Twitter forums at SinCity_IESR, at Cale_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports. This is IE Vegas. If you guys miss a show, don't fret. Don't be upset. Don't gamble all your winnings away. Go to the Spreaker app. You can re-listen to the episode. Go to Spotify, Google Pods, Apple Pods. Go to our YouTube page. Go to our IE Sports Radio website, where you can listen to all of these shows, all of these podcasts. Like, follow, help the algorithms. Everybody have a great week. And as always, love, peace, and hair grease, folks.